There is a person in your life. You do not see them at parties often. They do not fill silence with small talk. They cancel plans without guilt, and they seem strangely content doing it. You have probably wondered what is wrong with them. But what if I told you, nothing is wrong with them at all? What if choosing to be but a signal of something rare? Today we are going to explore one of the most misunderstood psychological patterns in human behavior. Why the most intelligent people you know almost always end up choosing solitude, and why that choice is far more deliberate than it looks. If you have ever felt more exhausted after socializing than before it, if you have ever preferred a quiet evening alone over a room full of people, if you have ever been called antisocial, cold, or hard to reach by people who simply could not understand why you needed space, if conversations that stay on the surface make you feel more alone than actual solitude, then this video is not just for you. This video is about you. And by the end of it, you will understand something about yourself that most people around you will never fully grasp. Here is what most people believe about people who prefer being alone. They think they are shy, or afraid of connection, or damaged in some way that makes relationships difficult. And here is what the psychology actually says. Every single one of those assumptions is wrong. The preference for solitude in highly intelligent individuals is not driven by fear. It is driven by something far more interesting. Something that most people never develop the capacity to understand, because they have never experienced it themselves. Let us start with a study that changed how psychologists think about intelligence and social behavior. Researchers Satoshi Kanazawa and Norman Lee published findings in the British Journal of Psychology after analyzing data from over 15,000 people. They were looking at one specific question: what actually makes intelligent people satisfied with their lives? What they found contradicted almost everything social psychology had assumed. For most people, more social interaction meant higher life satisfaction. But for people with significantly higher intelligence, the opposite was true. The more frequently highly intelligent people socialized, the lower their reported life satisfaction. And the more time they spent alone, the better they felt. This is not a personality quirk. This is not social anxiety dressed up as preference. This is a measurable, documented, repeatable psychological pattern. And understanding why it happens requires understanding how a high-functioning mind actually works. Here is the first thing that nobody talks about. For most people, socializing is energizing. It fills them up. It stimulates them. It makes them feel alive. But for a highly intelligent mind, most social environments are the opposite of stimulating. They are understimulating. Think about that for a moment. A mind that processes information faster than average, that sees patterns others miss, that thinks in layers while others think in lines, is brought into a room where the conversation is about the weather, or someone's holiday plans, or a television show they watched last night. The intelligent person is not being arrogant. They are not judging you. They are simply bored, at a neurological level. And here is where it becomes genuinely fascinating. A bored, intelligent brain does not switch off. It turns inward. It begins running its own internal conversations, its own problems, its own questions, its own worlds. So while they are standing in that room with you, they are also somewhere else entirely, somewhere far more interesting to them than the conversation happening out loud. Let us go into the specific psychological reasons this happens, because there are 4 of them, and each one builds on the last. Reason 1, the energy equation. Every human being has a finite amount of mental and emotional energy each day. Extroverts generate energy through connection. The more they interact, the more alive they feel. Highly intelligent people, regardless of whether they are introverted or extroverted, expend significantly more cognitive energy during social interactions because they are processing more. While an average person hears what you say, an intelligent person hears what you say analyzes why you said it, notices the gap between your words and your expression, considers 3 possible interpretations of your meaning, and responds while managing all of that simultaneously. That is not socializing. That is cognitive labor. And hours of that solitude is not a preference. It is a biological necessity. Reason 2, the quality standard. Here is something that gets misunderstood constantly. Intelligent people do not avoid people. They avoid shallow people. There is a difference that almost no one acknowledges. About meaning, about psychology, about what keeps them awake at night, and watch them come alive. They are not antisocial. They are anti-surface. The problem is that genuinely deep conversation is rare. Most social environments do not offer it, and a highly intelligent person would rather spend an evening alone with their thoughts than spend 3 hours performing small talk that means nothing to them. Reason 3, the inner world advantage. Most people experience the world primarily through external stimulation. They need input from outside to feel engaged. Conversation, entertainment, other people, noise. Highly intelligent people have a second world available to them at all times. An inner world, rich enough, complex enough, and interesting enough to compete with anything the external world can offer. They can sit in a quiet room with no phone, no television, no company, and be completely absorbed. Because inside their mind there are problems to solve, ideas to develop, questions to explore, and connections to draw between things most people never think to connect. Solitude is not empty for them. It is full. Reason 4, the authenticity cost. The 4th reason is the one that cuts deepest. Most social environments require a version of performance. You adjust your language, your energy, your opinions. You make yourself more palatable, more digestible. For most people, this is unconscious and effortless. For a highly intelligent person, it is neither. They are acutely aware of the gap between who they are in private and who the social world asks them to be in public. And that gap costs them something. Every time. Solitude requires no performance. In solitude, they do not have to translate themselves for anyone. They do not have to make their thoughts smaller to fit the conversation. They can simply be exactly who they are. And for a mind that lives with constant depth, that is not a luxury, that is oxygen. Now here is the part of this conversation that most people are not ready for. The preference for solitude in intelligent people is not just psychological. It is also, in many cases, a response to pain. Most highly intelligent people learn something early. That their natural way of being in the world did not fit. Their questions were too complex. Their humor was too dry. Their interests were too niche. Their silences were too long. And the world responded to all of that, with confusion, with exclusion, with the message, "You are doing too much." So they retreated. Not because they stopped wanting connection, but because they stopped finding it. And somewhere along the way, solitude stopped being the consolation prize and became the preference. Because in solitude, nobody looked at them like they were strange. Nobody changed the subject when they went too deep. Nobody made them feel like being themselves was inconvenient. Solitude accepted them completely, and most people in their lives never managed to do the same. If everything we have explored today describes you, I want you to hear something directly. Your preference for solitude is not a failure of connection. It is a natural response to a world that has not yet offered you the quality of connection your mind actually requires. You do not need more people. You need the right people. And until you find them, choosing yourself over a room full of noise is not loneliness. It is discernment. Intelligent people are not incapable of deep connection. They are incapable of pretending shallow connection is enough. That distinction changes everything, because it means they are not broken. They are selective. and selectivity is one of the highest forms of self-respect a person can practice. So what does all of this actually mean for how you live? 3 things, and I want to be very specific. The first thing, stop apologizing for your solitude. Every time you cancel to stay home, every time you choose a quiet evening over a social obligation, every time you protect your alone time like it is sacred, you are not being antisocial. You are not being difficult. You are maintaining the conditions your mind needs to function at its best. Solitude is not the absence of a social life. It is the presence of an intentional one. The second thing, recognize the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is wanting connection and not having it. Solitude is choosing your own company because you value it. Most people who love you will confuse the two. They will worry when you withdraw. They will push you towards social situations that drain you. They will call it concern. You can let them care for you, without letting them define what your well-being looks like. The third thing, find your people, and hold on to them completely. Intelligent people do not need many people, but they need real ones. The person who asks you the question that keeps you up all night thinking. The person who can sit with you in silence and make the silence feel full. The person who does not need you to be smaller to feel comfortable around you. The world will keep telling you to come out of your shell, to be more present, to socialize more, to stop being so serious, to come to the party, to answer the group chat, to be easier to reach. And you can smile at all of that, because you now know something they do not. Your solitude is not a wall. It is a workshop. Every hour you spend alone with your thoughts, every evening you invest in your own inner world, every time you choose depth over noise, you are building something most people will never take the time to build. Yourself. Not everyone needs a crowd to feel full. Some people were built to burn brighter alone.